Hello, hello, hello. Hello everyone, welcome. We're going to start sitting down today. So you don't have to stand, like we normally start standing to give you a bit of an energy boost for the end of the day. But then today I just thought, who actually needs an energy boost? You'd rather just focus in on their breath for a little bit. So let's just sit in whatever seated position feels attractive to you. So either sitting on a sofa or bed, somewhere that you can plant your feet firmly on the floor, or sitting on your bottom on the floor, finding your sit bones with your hands, just to make sure you're definitely sitting on top of your sit bones, whichever position you're in. So whether you're sitting upright, presumably you're sitting upright, whether you're sitting on a chair or a bed or on the floor with your legs crossed. If cross-legged doesn't feel particularly comfortable, obviously adopt a position that feels better. So either with the soles of the feet together or have them slightly outstretched. It's all about comfort and also just tuning into how your body is feeling right now, because we're going to be here for a few minutes, just sort of checking in with the breath. I'm going to stay relatively close to the computer just to check people don't arrive. Oh, people are arriving. But so just in this seated position, take a moment to notice your natural comfortable stance. So whether when you're sitting, you quite like to come into this slightly roly-poly position with the spine. And if you do, try and plant the sit bones directly onto the surface that you're sitting on. And then imagine, like a heavy pot plant, your pelvis is grounded, but then you've got a lovely lift and length out through the fronds coming out of your spine. So think about that lovely energy reaching up, 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 out through the crown of your head, but you're grounded and planted through the pelvis. So you can close your eyes if it helps you, just to sort of orientate yourself with how your body is feeling today. Notice whether it feels comfortable to sit in this position. It does take quite a lot of lift and upright core energy to keep you supported. So just check in with your shoulders, maybe roll them up and back. Feeling the shoulder blades gliding onto the back of your rib cage. So imagine that sense of the back of your ribs being open and wide as the front of your body. So often when we're sitting, we kind of allow the front of the body to cave in. So let's see if we can gently release and open. So we're just starting sitting down, Julia. Either on the floor or on your sofa or bed, or wherever you feel you want to start sitting. So I want you just to, for the first few breaths, close your eyes if that feels right for you. Otherwise, just gently kind of tuning in internally to where your breath is going. So taking a lovely deep breath. And then sigh the breath. Imagine really fogging a window in front of you. Try and release the jaw. Soften the features of your face as you're breathing out. Breathe in. And let's do 3 more like that. So seeing whether you can let the breath channel itself down your torso, almost trying to find the grounded pelvis. And breathing out, feel that sense of softening and closing with the rib cage, maybe the abdominals. Gently start to draw in. Just notice if it's happening, don't force it if it's not. Last 2 breaths. Breathing out. Last breath here, just for the breath. And then just change the cross of your legs. Noticing whether you crossed them out of habit. If you did consciously cross them the other way, then just notice how it feels to come back to your comfort zone, your comfortable cross. And take your hands onto the shoulders. See if you can sort of practice a little habit of noticing with your hands where your shoulders are. It's quite a good way of noticing whether you are having this sort of slightly folded, caved in position. See if you can just open through the chest. See if you're like tracing the line of your collarbones and then just opening a little bit at the end. And then you can just softly, I want you to breathe in and let the rib cage close. And breathe out to open. Now it might feel a bit weird, and we'll talk about that in a second. And breathe out to open. Last one like this, breathing in to close. And breathe out to open. And then I want you, as you cave in, to do that on an out breath. So let's take a lovely deep breath in here. And then close. And breathe in as you expand. And I want you to notice the difference. See if you can feel a sense of width and openness as you breathe in on the width side, and as you breathe out, notice how the rib cage naturally closes. So we're just trying to sort of pattern or notice the natural pattern of your breath with the ribs. And the next time you're sitting at your desk or sort of softly curled over, trying to take a deep breath, notice whether the breath is sort of sent into this upper part of your chest, because it doesn't have that space to open. So if you do sort of try this at your desk, it's quite a nice kind of like, oh, I need a little bit more space to breathe. Last one, just opening out. And then let's release the arms down by your side. Allow that sense of lovely sort of crescendo of lift out through the crown of your head, soft heaviness of the pelvis. Let's lift and lengthen your left arm. Check in with the shoulders. Allow the shoulder blade to draw down into the back of your body. Little space always between your arm and your ear, but then let the arm really sort of find its length. So try and reach, but without locking the elbow. So we're not kind of floppy, we're reaching the energy out, but keeping that space. Maintain that space. Let's lift and lengthen over. Breathe into this space. Now you can also just take your opposite hand over into the side of your rib cage and breathe into it as if you're kind of opening into a wind instrument or an accordion, and then breathe out and then place the hand back, breathe in, breathing out, release. So we're just trying to find our rib cage for the first couple of minutes here. So other side, lifting up, relax that shoulder. Reach the arm, but without locking the elbow. Let's lift up and over. Breathe into that side. If it feels comfortable and easy to do so, find with your hand, play the piano over the ribs. Breathing out. Breathing in. And release it back. Let's do one more either side. Just lift and across. Breathe in. And out, other side, lift and all the way over. Breathe in, breathe out. And then let's change the cross of your legs again. Taking the hands onto the knees, and I want you just to circle the rib cage over the pelvis. So imagine you're just gently massaging that space in between the pelvis and the ribs, so that waist area. Kind of nourishing, hydrating the connective tissue with movement. Do a few in each direction. Remember to change after you've done sort of 4 or 5 or 6. Same amount on the other direction. You can use your hands to help you kind of get more of a little rotation if that feels nice, or you can just gently kind of like a little ball roll around. So whichever feels okay for your ribs, your waist, your hips. And then coming back through center. Let's just do a little neck stretch before we begin. So we're going to do a little bit of abdominal work today. As ever with the abdominal work, I want you always to just be aware of your neck. So if you do feel a sense of a little bit of strain or fatigue in the neck, just bring the head down at any point, or take your hands behind the head if they're not already there. Always kind of listen to that strain that might be coming towards the front of the neck, or if it's around the back and the ears, just, you know, make sure you don't work beyond the strain signals. So from here, just float the left arm up towards the ceiling and just gently place it along the side of your head. And I want you just to bring the left ear to the left shoulder. Now we're not pulling it, we're just guiding it, just a little sense of that connection, that feedback for where your head is in space. It gives you just a little bit more for the stretch. And then just rotate so your nose comes a little bit towards your armpit, and I want you to find your head, your hands towards the back of your head. And again, we're not pulling, but you're just giving a little bit of additional sort of stretch to the pressure to the stretch. And then back through center. And then release it back, lifting up and release the arm down. Maybe a little circle for the arm. Let's come the other way. Float that right arm up, placing it on the side of your head and gently ear to shoulder. Maybe just notice how that feels, the stretch coming down the side of the neck. Maybe it's not a very strong stretch. You might find one side is stronger than the other as we rotate. This is definitely my side that needs the most stretching. Breathe and soften. And then back through center. And then upright, float the arm down. Let's just from here, leaving the arms where they are, or you can have the hands on the knees wherever they feel comfortable, just lengthen the back of the neck so you're allowing the chin to come towards the chest. We're not compressing, so imagine you have like a soft peach or a little orange just gently underneath your chin. So what we don't want to do is hang in the neck. We want to glide the head at the top of the neck to allow the nose to gaze forward and down. And then I want you just to bring the chin to the other side or whichever shoulder. So it might feel quite like a similar stretch to what you've just done, but then again, gently, gently across and over to the other side. And then back, chin to chest, and then nod the nose up. And this time just open the throat, just gently releasing the gaze up towards the ceiling, trying to have the movement in the neck. Maybe the chest will open a little bit, but I want you to be aware of your neck movements today because it's going to come into our curl ups. So let's bring the head to the end of the spine once more, and then I want you to just nod the chin to the chest again. So it's the top movement of the roll down, basically, this kind of lifting up as if someone's lifting your ears and rolling you forward. So we're not hanging forward on the neck, we're lifting up and over, and then bringing the head back at the end of the spine. Very nice. Now from here, I'm going to carry on with a little bit of upright stuff before we come into some more abdominals. So let's come on to high kneeling. Everyone's knees feeling okay today? Let me know if not. We're going to take a pillow if you need one. We're not going to be here forever, but if it does feel uncomfortable, you know, adopt a different position, come in back onto your bum. You can do similar stretches. So from here, I want you to lift and lengthen the left leg out by your side. And I want you to come into your 4-point kneeling position from here. So we're coming into our kind of cat basically, but with your leg outstretched. Take a moment to find the length of your spine. So it may feel like your pelvis is a little bit uneven. So try and find a position with this left leg so that you can still have a sense that your pelvis is lengthening down to the ground rather than up on this side. So we want to be still as level as possible. Breathing in, and as you breathe out, let's come into a cat. So tuck the tailbone underneath you and gently roll under bone by bone. So from the side, your spine looks exactly the same as for your cat. And then lengthen the tailbone away from the crown of your head. You may come into a little extension, you might just come back into your neutral spine. Breathing in, breathing out, tuck the tailbone underneath you. Curl. And send the tailbone away. Open the chest. Notice how different it feels from your regular cat. Let's do one more. Tuck the tailbone underneath you. So there's a little bit of an inner thigh, opening of the hips. Breathe in. Breathing out, send the tailbone away. And open. And then from here, come back into your cat. And then I want you to use your belly to roll yourself up, bone by bone, to upright with your leg still out to the side. Now from here, we're going to float the arms out to the side. So relaxing the shoulders, try and make sure the spine is lengthened, the crown of the head is lifting. We're not hunching the shoulders to the ears. We're going to deepen the abdominals here. So just sort of switch on through your lower belly, lift your pelvic floor, just consciously drawing in through that support of the lower belly. We're going to tick down towards the floor, find the mat with your right hand and lift up and reach with this left arm. So again, keeping that space between the arm and the ear. This left foot is grounded, so you might find yourself tilting on the side of the foot. Try and spread the toes. Keep that little toe connected to the ground if you can. Let's reach the arm over. Little rotation as you just skim the floor with the fingertips and then lift it back up. Let's do that 3 more times. So reaching across, drawing your fingertips across the mat and then lift up. 2 more. And lift. Last one, notice the knee. If it feels tender, sit yourself back, maybe place a cushion underneath it. Lifting the arm and then just rest it there, noticing your neck. And I want you from here, take your hands behind the head. So just notice where the head is. Press your head into your hand a little bit to check your alignment. So you may have been kind of slightly forward. Let's bring ourselves back. Opening the chest. Now we're going to work through the abdominals a little bit more here, just simply by working against gravity. So breathing in, as you breathe out, I want you to lift this supporting leg and then lower, and then lift and lower, keeping the head pressing against the back of the hand or into the hand, keeping the shoulders connected into the back. We've got 2 more. Lift and lower. Last one, keep the belly lifted and lower. Good, let's lift it. And we want to do little circles. So if this is too much, just lie yourself onto your side and do a leg circle, okay? So I want you to really notice whether this is a little bit too intense to begin with. That's absolutely fine. I'm giving you a little repertoire you can do when you feel more up to it. Let's change direction. I'm going to do 5 circles in this direction. And then release the knee all the way down, reach the arm down. Let's come into a little twisted twisted rest position. So your arms are across and your knees are resting on the ground. If it's better and you feel more comfortable, just come into a regular rest position. Breathing in, let the forehead really rest down, let the neck totally relax. And then coming up through center. When you're ready, rearrange your hoodie if you're wearing a hoodie like me. I always forget that hoodies are not a good idea for doing this kind of exercise. So from here, let's take the right leg, whoops, without knocking your mat. Now you might feel that this, as with every kind of side lying exercise, exposes one side that you're slightly more comfortable and friendly with than the other. So you may feel that automatically one side feels like it's a little bit less stable or a little bit kind of more wobbly. So just run with it, that's fine. Our bodies are, you know, always listening to messages of congratulations. So let's encourage ourselves if we're feeling more wobbly. Let's breathe in. And as you breathe out, you're just going to come down onto the ground into your 4-point kneeling, but obviously different 4 points than normal. So see if you can take a moment in this 4-point kneeling to notice that right hip. See if you can feel like you need to maybe walk out that foot to keep the pelvis as level as possible, or whether it needs to come further in. And again, if you need to, just bring the knee back underneath if it feels uncomfortable at any point. Breathing in, and as you breathe out, coming into your cat. So curl the tailbone underneath you and rolling up through the spine into your undulating cat position. And breathing out, release the spine away, lengthen. Notice how it feels on this hip, this inner thigh, this knee. Breathing in, breathing out. Let's do 2 more. I've got a little bit less movement on this side in my spine because I'm a bit tighter on my left hip. But I know that because I've just I know my tightnesses too well. So just notice and observe with curiosity how it feels, if it feels different on this side to the other. And back through center. And then curling the tailbone underneath you, but this time I want you to really use your abdominals. Imagine you're rolling up, so you're lifting, coming up from a roll down, I mean lifting up bone by bone, coming back into the upright position. And then let's take the arms out. Taking a breath in. Now let's find that supporting lift of the pelvic floor, the lower belly. So just feel that this exercise, we're not actively doing any curl ups or anything, so it may not feel like an abdominal workout, but we're really using the oblique muscles here and the supporting pelvic floor and lower belly. So let's, with control, lower that left arm all the way down to the floor. The right arm lengthens up towards the ceiling. Breathing in, breathing out, reach it over. Glide the fingertips down and then open up through the chest. So it's a little rotation through the spine, but it's mostly a really lovely stretch. Imagine from those right toes all the way out to the right fingertips. Last one. And leave the arm when you get there up towards the ceiling. And then I want you to just bend the arm so the hand comes behind the head. Breathing in here. Let's find the abdominal muscles just a little bit more. So imagine this left side of your waist is really active, working against gravity. We're going to breathe in, breathe out, and lift the leg as high as you can without feeling that your hip is under strain, and then lower and lift. And lower. So you'll feel this around the top of the hip, maybe a little bit in the inner thigh as well, because you're working on the way up and the way down to control the movement. If it's hard on your shoulder, like I said last time, lie down on your side instead and do some leg lifts. Last one. And lower. And then we're going to do our little circle. So lifting up and circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, change direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well done, guys. Bring the knee down and then reach yourself over for that little stretch, which you might find as the stretch into the hip, into the spine, let the shoulders relax. Breathe. And then just walking the hands out in front of you. Maybe make the knees a little bit wider to come into a rest position. You might want to adjust your position on the mat to make yourself properly comfy. And release the forehead to the mat. If your shoulders need a little break, release your arms down behind you to really let them relax off the back of the body. Breathing all the way down through the back of the rib cage, so allow the breath to kind of massage into the areas that you might have felt had a little bit of work. And then rolling up when you're ready. So send the tailbone down, rebuild your spine, bone by bone, relaxing the shoulders. And then from here, we're going to swivel around onto our bottoms. Adjust your bum flesh if you need to, finding the sit bones on the floor. Now, if you have got a band and you prefer working with a band for these roll backy exercises, then do. Okay, so we're going to do some rollbacks. You're more than welcome to do them all with the band to give you just that little bit more support and feedback for where you are in space. I'm going to demonstrate without, just so you, if you fancy doing them without at any point, then that's okay too. So we're not going to roll all the way down and all the way up. We're going to roll to a point where you feel like you're connecting to the abdominals but not putting your back under any strain. So again, just really being aware of how much you can control the work that your abdominals are doing, okay? So we don't want to overstress them. So we're going to take either the hands behind the thighs, or you've got your band with the toes up. Breathing in. Now as you breathe out, consciously lift and connect pelvic floor, back passage through to front. Find that hammock of the pelvic floor muscles lifting up. So you might even feel that sensation of lifting up and away from the mat. Deepen into the lower abdominals, imagining from the pubic bone up, there's a sense of engagement. And as you do that, you're going to send the tailbone through your legs. So you're going to just tilt the pelvis underneath you. Let's keep the abdominals working as we lower from that tilt. So you're just gently lengthening the spine back. Keep the lower belly really connected in. If you've got your band, you can hold on to it, but I don't want you to be pulling at it. So just feel that it's there helping you. Breathing in here. As you breathe out, deepen the abdominals. We're going to roll ourselves forward, keeping that C curve of your spine, and then rebuild at the top. So what we're doing is coming into that C shape, rolling it back, and then rolling it forward and restacking. So let's do that 3 times. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, lifting through the lower abdominals, tuck the tailbone underneath you, let the spine come into a little C-shaped crescent moon, and then lower the spine towards the floor, only as far as you can go without feeling there's a load of pressure in the abdominals. So really just scoop the belly, keep the pelvic floor working, breathing in, breathing out, lengthen forward in your C shape. So imagine the crown of your head leading, and then rebuild when you're back on top of your sit bones. So let's take a breath in, breathing out, send the tailbone underneath you. Lower yourself down as far as you can go. It may not be very close towards the floor, that's totally fine. What we want to do is feel that you're working but not feeling really, really strainy. So we don't want to be juddering too much or feeling like you're any kind of doming through the abdominals. Breathing in, breathing out, lengthen all the way up. And then from here, we're going to roll ourselves all the way down. So either with the band or with the hands on thighs. Take it, but don't worry, we're not rolling back up again. We're going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, tucking the tailbone underneath you. And imagine like a string of pearls, you're lowering your spine bone by bone. You're sort of draping down towards the mat. Try and keep your feet as connected as you can towards the floor, even just the heels if you've got your band. And then lower with control, lengthen the head down. Let the band just release where it is and bring your feet flat on the floor. Just take a moment to enjoy luxuriating in this position. Notice how your abdominals feel, whether they feel like they've had a little bit of warming up. And I want you to breathe into that space in between the pelvis and the rib cage that we were sort of massaging with your circles earlier on. So take a breath in and allow that space to open and fill up with the breath. And then breathe out, just allow that space to softly close and fall. 2 more like that, breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. And then float the arms up towards the ceiling. Palms facing towards each other. Let's do a couple of shoulder drops to begin with, to relax the shoulders as much as you can down to the floor. So breathing in, reach the left fingertips to the ceiling. Breathing out, drop them down. Other side, reach. And 1 more either side, just 2 either side today. And reach. And good, breathe in, let's open the arms out to the side. Breathe out to close. Breathe in to open. And close. Do this 2 more times, and imagine, as we did at the beginning, that you're expanding with the in-breath, the rib cage is opening, the belly is softening. But imagine this time consciously on the out-breath, you're drawing in the abdominals, just softening the rib cage down. Breathing in to expand. Breathing out to cinch the waist and draw the abdominals deeply. Last one, breathe in. And release it down. Let's bring the palms to face forward. Take a breath in, relax those shoulders, and as you breathe out, reaching the arms back behind you, keeping the rib cage heavy. And this time, if you've got space, if you don't have space, just bring the arms out in front, back in front of you. But if you have space, circle the arms out by your side and bring them down to the hips and then lift them back up to the ceiling. So it sort of depends on whether you've got things around you that you might bang into. Rib cage closure on its own is perfect. Otherwise, have these lovely snow angels and see how they feel for the shoulder joints. Notice if one shoulder has more mobility. Notice if there are any sticky points where you really don't want to go with your shoulder. That's totally fine. Don't go into any areas that your shoulder is resisting. Just notice that it is resisting. Last one like this. Reaching back. If you notice one of my arms is a bit eager beaver, likes to go a bit faster than the other. And then leave the arms up towards the ceiling. Relaxing the shoulders. Now we've warmed up the abdominals a little bit. We're going to work them a little bit harder now. So taking a breath in. As you breathe out, I want you to remember that neck head tilt we did sitting up. I want you now to just look down your nose. So that's the direction of movement. And I want you just to soften the chin towards the chest and then begin to peel the back of the head off the mat. The arms follow the movement of the rib cage. So as you curl up, the arms are sort of pressing a lever to bring them in line with your thigh, with your thighs. Now from here in this curl up, deep in the abdominals, remember that roll back. And I want you to press the left arm down towards the mat and bring it back up in line with the thighs. Press the right arm down towards the mat and then bring it back up. And then take the right hand behind the head, followed by the left, and then lower the spine down. Release the head now with the hands behind the head. If you want to, give your neck a little massage like we did last time. The elbows are in your peripheral vision, okay? So I want you to feel like you can always see them a little bit, but you're never hugging your head, and you're also not allowing the elbows to splay to the floor. So it's that kind of middle spot, always there, gently kind of in the corner of your eye. Let's take a breath in. As you breathe out, deep in the abdominals, so find that scoop of the lower belly, lifting the pelvic floor. We're not closing the spine into the floor unless you want to support your lower back. So make it a conscious decision. Otherwise, keep that pelvis lovely and stable. So as you breathe out, we're curling up and then lengthen through the back of the neck, looking down your nose. And I want you to imagine your pubic bone releasing away from your nose rather than towards it. So we're not tilting in the pelvis and using the hips. Breathe in here. As you breathe out, reach the left arm towards the thighs, in line with the thighs. Stay curled. Reach the right arm. Now you're going to curl a little bit more. See if you can press the arms down, both of them towards the mat, and then lift both of them up. Stay curled. Take the right hand behind the head, followed by the left, and then lower it all the way down. Elbows in your peripheral vision. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, let's nod the chin to the chest, eyes down, look down your nose, peel the back of the shoulder blades off the mat, looking down towards your pubic bone. Your pubic bone stays away from your nose. You're going to reach the left arm forward, followed by the right, in line with the thighs. Pressing a little bit further forward as you curl up, bring the arms down, and then you're going to lift them back up. Take the right hand behind the head, followed by the left, and then lower all the way down. Take a breath in. You've got one more like that. You can obviously take a break whenever you need to. Think heavy bottom, heavy pelvis as you curl up, deepening through the abdominals. The nose lengthens towards your pubic bone. The pubic bone stays heavy. Reach the left arm forward. Keep drawing in through the belly. Reach the right arm. Press both arms slightly down as you curl up a little bit higher if you can, bringing the arms slightly further up, but keep that curl. Take the right hand back, followed by the left, and then lower all the way back down. Oh, well done, guys. Let the elbows release out by your sides and out to the floor, unless you feel that's not very nice for your shoulders, in which case you can let the arms lower. But from here, I want you to bring the feet and knees together, and let's just come into a little hip roll. So keeping the knees glued as much as you can. Obviously it's not the end of the world if they come apart a little bit. Breathing in, Breathing out, bring it back through center. So it's quite a nice stretch for the armpits and sort of chest area, but it's also working through the obliques and inner thighs. So again, trying to keep that hip roll, that sort of concentration of the inner thighs in your hip roll. But if it feels nice to let the thighs move independently, then that's cool too. So just listen to your body. We've got one more either side. Keep the elbows heavy and wide. And last one. And back through center. Let's just open knees back to hip width apart, or the knees and the feet. Bring your elbows back in your peripheral vision. Now you're not going to like me very much for the next one. It's a very small movement, but it's going to just really find your oblique muscles. So your oblique muscles are the ones that control and are really important for our stability, but they're also important for allowing our rib cage movement for breath. So being aware of them is really important, particularly postnatally. So let's take a breath in. Now we're going to curl up and over to the left. So imagine you're aiming your nose towards your left hip. So not out to the side, but in a diagonal, the left hip with your nose, not your elbow. So keep the elbow really wide and then come back through center. The pelvis stays heavy. Take a breath in. Breathing out, curling up and over. Send your nose towards your right hip. The elbow stays wide. And then back in through center. We're going to add a little bit more movement, which might actually help you find this movement. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, coming up and over to the left, and this time reach the right arm and just up and over on the diagonal towards that left leg. And then bring it back as you release the head and shoulders back down. The feet are nice and heavy, the pelvis is grounded. Let's come across to the right, reaching up and over, and lengthen that left arm over towards the right knee or towards the right thigh, back through center, lower it down. You're not curling up very high. As you can see, I'm lifting just sort of to the tips of my shoulder blades, reaching over. If you can try and get your abdominals to lift you just up over the shoulder blades, well, that's completely cool. But if not, don't worry. This is a really hard exercise. And back through center. Bring the knees into the chest. Roll from side to side a little bit. Roll your head from side to side gently if you felt like that was going into your neck at all. And then I want you to lengthen both legs away along the floor. Reach the arms up and over. Let's just stretch into the front of the body. And then from here, we're going to actually roll over onto your front. So you can kind of do a little wiggle move, rolling yourselves over to find yourself on your front. We're now going to stretch the abdominals by extending the spine, which is a really lovely stretch after doing all of those curl ups. So from here, lengthen your legs a little bit wider than hip width apart, or you can have them parallel in hip width, depending on how you feel in your lower back. So kind of choose your comfortable spot. Check in with your hip bones. Make sure that you feel like your pelvis is grounded. So we want to feel quite heavy across the front of the pelvis. Draw the abdominals in to imagine you're sending your tailbone towards your heels. So we don't want to be allowing the lower back to feel exposed and non-supported. We want to really feel like almost like you're tucking your tailbone underneath you and activating the abdominals. Let's take the hands either side of your mat. Now you might need to adjust the position of your hands depending on how wide your shoulders are. I've got quite wide shoulders, so for me, shoulder width with my arms and hands is kind of quite wide. So placing the hands in line with the elbows, elbows down onto the floor. Let's bring the head towards the mat. Take a breath in. Now I want you to imagine that your palms and your elbows are kind of stuck as if on Velcro. They can't move, and you're going to try and move them. So that's the sense that I want you to get of kind of trying to bring a bit of resistance through that, but not actually moving. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, nod the chin, nod the nose forward, and begin to open through the chest. Now from here, the neck doesn't open any more than this. Now the movement comes from the spine. So we're not looking up, we're not really exposing the throat. I just want you to find this movement in the middle of your back, around kind of shoulder blade area, and not into your lower back too much. And then slowly lower back down. So when I say movement, obviously the lower spine is moving, but I want you to feel this more in nodding the chin, bringing the head in line with the spine, and then bringing the shoulder blade area, peeling the rib cage away from the mat. Breathe in and breathe out. Lower. So it's a baby cobra, the elbows stay down. If you want to have more of a yogi cobra, really notice your lower back. I want you to feel like the movement doesn't ever feel like you're collapsing into that lower back area. Shoulders gently connecting down into the body. Breathe in, breathe out to lower. Last one, breathing in, breathing out, nod the chin, nod the nose forward. Checking where your neck is in relation to the rest of the spine, so we're not looking forward, we're keeping the head lovely and balanced at the end of the spine, and then lower it down. From here, it's a little bit of work, that extension, so bring your knees in, just release the bum back to the heels, and let's roll forward into your rest position to counter pose that extension of your spine. Breathing all the way down into the waist, into the hips. And then gently rolling up through the spine. Now we're going to come back into your 4-point kneeling position for one more exercise before we then come back onto your back. So if your wrists need a little bit of support, take them slightly further in front of you. We're going to be balancing through in our kind of tabletop position a little bit. So I want you to really listen to your shoulders and your wrists. If your wrists really don't like it, you can do this on your elbows. Okay, so it's not something that has to be a wrist engagement if it doesn't feel right. So let's, in your 4-point kneeling, just notice how the body feels in its balance. So feel like your spine is lengthened at the end of the, your pelvis is lengthened at the end of the spine, and even imagine the 4 points of your torso, the shoulders and the hips. If you were to take one limb away, those 4 points wouldn't move at all. So notice and imagine balancing that tray of champagne. Celebrate possible easing of lockdown over the next few months. So take a breath in. As you breathe out, deepen through the lower belly, so feel like you're really strengthening through that torso, that tabletop. Glide your right leg away out in front of you, keeping the toes down to begin with. And then lengthen and lift your left arm, opposite arm and leg. And then I want you to lift that right leg. So you don't have to lift it high, it wants to be in line with the hip. Now from here, we're going to lower the toes and the fingertips, and then we're going to lift. Lower and lift. 3 more. Lift. Last 2. Lift. Last 1. Lift. Just stay here for a little bit longer. See if you can find that length from the fingertips to the toes. And then release back into your rest position for a moment. Breathing in. Noticing any sensations in the right shoulder, in the left side of the body, in the wrist, in the knee. Breathe. And then coming back up. Finding that supported torso 4-point kneeling position, so lifting into the lower belly, sending the tailbone away so you're in your neutral position of your spine. Let's glide that left leg away. Notice if your hip has hinged or dropped. See if you can imagine that tray of champagne. You really don't want to spill any of it at all. Let's lift the leg and the opposite arm. Breathing in and lower to lift, lower to lift, lower, lift, last two, lift, last one, and then back through center. Breathing, softening. And then from here, let's just come into a hip flexor stretch upright, and then we're going to come into a hip flexor stretch lying down and see the difference. So I want you to bring your right leg in front towards your right hand, and you want the knee and the ankle to be in line with each other. I want you to have this left knee just lengthening back behind the hip joint. And then you can kind of stay here if that's enough and it feels comfortable. I don't want you to feel like you're straining into the hips or the knee or the lower back. Otherwise, just softly taking your hands onto the knee to lift up through the spine. So what we don't want is a sense of hanging into the lower back. I want you to feel like you're just tucking that tailbone underneath as much as you can, so the spine is lifted rather than we don't want to kind of crescent moon shape in the other way, basically. But I want you to feel lifted and strong. Let's take a breath in. Breathing out. And then from here, just softly release the hands down either side of your foot, and let's bring the spine back. So your bum is lengthening as if towards the center of your hips rather than across to this left ankle. Try and keep the spine centered on your mat and keep the toes down for now. Just maybe feel a little stretch in the front of the foot, front of the shin maybe. And then pick up the toes, little hamstring stretch. Might be quite a strong hamstring stretch. You don't need to straighten the leg, you can keep it a little bit soft. Breathe. And breathe out. And then bringing the toes down, bringing it back, hand inside that foot and bring the foot back around. You can just come into your rest position temporarily or come straight into the other side, bringing that left foot up and across. No hurry. When you get there, the knee wants to be directly above the ankle rather than too much forward or too far back. We want to sort of poise it as much as you can with this right hip length, right knee rather, lengthening back from the hip. Check in with your lower back, always feel supported, so maybe adjust the position if you need to, bring the knee a little bit closer in so that you don't feel like you're kind of too wobbly, and lift yourself up. Try and draw this left hip or left thigh into the hip joint, so we're not, so it's a really bad top, isn't it, for showing my alignment. Breathing in, breathing out. And then releasing the hands either side of the foot, sending the bum back towards the center of the mat rather than to the right heel. Keeping the left toes down to begin with, just noticing that you didn't realize you had to stretch your feet, that there was possibility of stretching in the foot. And then pick up the foot and send the bum a bit further back. Keep the knee bent if you need to. Breathe. And then come back through center. Bring that knee back. And release. Let's come back up to sitting, swivel around onto your bum. Final flourish to the abdominals. We're going to roll ourselves back down. So taking the hands behind the thighs, or if you want to, take the arms out in front of you if you feel like you've got enough energy in the tank. We're going to breathe in, and as we breathe out, we're softly rolling the spine down. With control, notice the point at which you really feel like you can't control it anymore, and at that point take your hands either behind the thighs or hands onto the floor. Make sure you support yourself in that movement. And then all the way down into a full body stretch. And then from your full body stretch, just reaching for your left knee, bringing it in towards you. Let that right leg feel nice and heavy and long along the floor. Now from here, bend the right knee so the right foot comes to the ground. Take this left foot across the right knee. Stay there if that's enough, if that feels a little bit of a stretch around the hip or the bum. Otherwise, you can use your band, remember, if you need to here, looping it around the back of the right thigh. Drawing through the abdominals as you bring that right knee in towards you, taking hold around the back of the thigh. And then for me personally, I always need to shift my weight slightly across to the right hip to find the stretch in my bum. Otherwise it sort of stays, it doesn't really feel like a stretch, to be honest. It stays in my inner thigh. So this wants to be a glute stretch. So try and organize your skeleton so the muscles are actually stretching. So maybe push a little bit into that left knee, draw the right knee in, maybe even soft rotations of the pelvis. Whatever it needs to be to find that stretch for you. And then release the right foot down. Cross the left leg all the way across, unless that feels uncomfortable, you can keep it nice and open. And then let's just release the knees across to the right, keeping the knees crossed. Breathe in. A little bit of abdominal here to bring the legs back through center without straining or kind of pulling them too much. You just go across to the left, so you'll feel like a slightly different stretch, maybe a little bit into the hip. Breathe in. Breathe out, back through center. Bring the left knee or left foot back to the ground. Right knee comes in towards you, send that left leg away. Breathing in. Bringing the left foot onto the ground. The right foot comes across the left knee. Check in with the pelvis, make sure it's even, you haven't kind of shortened on the right side of the waist, and then bring that left knee in towards you. You might need a pillow underneath your head actually. Sometimes we find here that you can be here with your nose up towards the ceiling behind you. I want you to feel like the back of the head is quite grounded. Breathing in. Find that stretch for you. And then release the foot down. Cross that leg all the way across. Bring the arms out. And then just gently tilting the pelvis across to the left. And then use the abdominals to help you bring it back. A little bit more load for the pelvis and the abdominal muscles, and then across, excuse me, across to the right. And back through center. Bring that foot back down. And then adopt your position of choice to close the session. So whether you want to stay here in your relaxation position, whether you want to have your legs up the wall, maybe in Shavasana, if you like yogi relaxation. Whichever position you'd like to choose, just find that comfort there over the next few moments. Don't rush it or force it. I want you to be able to come into your body without any sense of pressure or rush or hectic day. And make yourself very comfortable. Remember that affirmation that comfort is the first sign of self-compassion. So checking that you're feeling comfortable. And then just revisit the breath. See if you can breathe in lovely and deeply. Let's start with those 3 breaths that we had at the beginning of the class. Come back to those breaths and notice whether they feel different. In through the nose. And in through the nose. And breathe out. In through the nose. And breathe out. And then allow your breath to find a rhythm that it feels comfortable with. So maybe you want to close your mouth, breathe, have the exhalation with your mouth closed. Maybe you want to carry on sighing the breath out. Whichever you do, just notice how the features of your face feel, the forehead, the cheeks, the jaw. See if you can travel that sense of softness down through the body. So thinking again about the collarbones like we did at the beginning, just see if you can feel them open and soft across the chest. The arms are heavy, supported by the ground or by your body. The back is lengthened in its natural position, the curves are supported by your muscles. Your hips are relaxed. The muscles around your hips, your thighs, all the way down through the legs to the feet. Maybe gently undulate your toes, just wiggling from little to big toe on each foot. Thank them for carrying you around all day. And then allow them to be still, and the whole body feels still and supported. Come back to noticing the rhythm of your breath. See if you can gently lengthen that exhalation, even if it's with the mouth closed or with mouth open. Just see if you can softly lengthen, signaling to your nervous system that it's time for rest, restoration, sleep. See if you can keep this sense of rest within the body until you go to sleep, knowing that you've nourished your nervous system enough for a lovely, deep, repairing night's sleep. And stay here for as long as you feel supported and comfortable. And I will see you next week. Same link, so it's I've added on an extra week for the one that we missed at half term. See you next week, guys.